Hi guys, I'm back with another video on our Hurricane series, and we're going to be talking about today about how do you help yourself in a disaster, and specifically with a hurricane. So you got to increase your awareness for yourself, your family, and your home and your property from any harmful hurricanes that might come. One way is basically having a portable radio running on batteries and listening to NOAA. NOAA is a good way to listen to your current events happening with a natural disaster, especially a hurricane. If you live in areas prone to a hurricane area, you got to make sure that you learn your safe routes inland. Meaning, if you're going to travel on the road, what is the safest route inland that you could travel on? Because you got to remember, when your hurricane comes, it's going to flood. You got to know where your flood zones are, for one. Number two, have a map of the state. Have a map of your area as well. So you have a local map as well as a state map, because you may have to leave the state. So you got to know the safest route to leave the state. So in your preparedness box that you take, or important documents, I would put in your important documents, put that paper map or whatever you have in with that and carry it with you where you go, because you never know. A lot of routes might be flooded. You may have big electrical installations around you that might have a lot of lines down in the streets, and you may have a lot of debris where it's not even able to be traveled, so you have to go other alternative routes. So keep a heads up on that and learn about that before the storm hits. Also, determine ahead of time where official shelters are and the location and where the shelters are located at in an emergency evacuation. So, in other words, if a storm comes in and you're flooded, or you don't have any power, or you don't have any food, water, or shelter, and let's say your house collapsed or whatever, you have to know where your official shelters are. So know this now before the storm hits. Call your local Red Cross. You can call, your emergency management. Find out where these places are. You can maybe call the fire department. They might even know. Or they can direct you to someone who would know. Okay? So find out where these official shelters are, and don't find out what's closest to you. Find out where all of them are, because you got to understand, if it hits and you are in the eye and it hits, one or more can be overburdened where they're not going to take any more people, and so you're going to have to travel to another one. And two can get filled up right away, and you might have to go to the third one. You understand what I'm saying? So find out where they're all at, not one or two, but all. Also, develop a family hurricane plan for worst case scenario to best case scenario, and always focusing on the worst case scenario. So if it doesn't happen, you're not stressed so much, for one. But if it does happen, you're prepared. Keep all emergency equipment in a good working order, and that means your emergency power generators. Check them out before a storm. Make sure everything turns on. Okay? Make sure it's gassed up. Fill it up first and then refill another thing of gas so you have backup. Also, flashlights, radios, batteries, and tarps. Tarps are a big thing, because whether a window's blown out and you're going to put it over a window after the storm so the bugs and everything else don't come in and rain, or you put it on the roof to prevent the water to come in, tarps are the number one thing to have as part of your equipment. Also, stock up on your food and water supplies. Even consider harvesting your own water off the roof, let alone a water system tank. But if you get your own water system off the roof, make sure you got something to treat that water with. Usually they have tablets or chemicals, or not chemicals, but tablets that you can treat the water system with so that you don't get any bacteria when you drink it. Also, keep your gardens well maintained with the trees and shrubbery trim. If you have anything dead in your backyard or front yard or side yards, cut it down, get rid of it now. Don't wait until the day before and it's at the curb, because all that stuff that's loaded up at the curb that might be 2 or 3 days before a storm will actually blow in not only your front yard, but will blow through your house, and it will come through a window. So get it out, clear it out, take it down to the place and drop it off yourself, but do not leave it on your property. Also have plywood on hand to protect doors and windows. You understand that these wind gusts, I was involved with Hurricane Charlie, along with 4 other ones, Francis, Ivan, and the No Name. The windows are going to be the first thing to go, and if it's stronger force like category 4, 5, or 6, your doors are gone. So yeah, you want to kind of reinforce it if you can. They have special treatments for windows, I know, for hurricane proofing, but you can also buy the metal corrugated protection for windows and frame it around that to give you the maximum protection, whether you have hurricane windows or not. Plywood really is not effective. It just basically keeps critters out. But if the hurricane busts through it, it's broken in away like a window. You know what I mean? Also know your community safety plan. Know what would happen in a community. Who is going to provide you with maybe water and food ahead of time? Who will give you shelter? Who will give you, if let's say your cell phone is waterlogged and you can't make calls out, who can you go to make a call to let someone know that you're okay, that you survived? You know what I'm saying? So know your community's hurricane safety plan. Find out who's going to do what, when, and where after a storm. Also, in your important documents, make sure you have your insurance policies in there. I forgot to mention that in the past 2 videos, but your insurance policies. Excuse me. Whether it's for a house, vehicles, or otherwise. Make sure life insurance, health insurance, your recreational vehicles, your automobiles, car vehicles, your house, whatever, renter's insurance, you name it. Have all that paperwork with you in your important documents, but also review your insurance policies to make sure to determine that you're covered in the event of a flood or wind damage. I can tell you from personal experience through Hurricane Charlie. That was the first year, because I've been down in Florida a long time, and I dropped my insurance that year. Big mistake. Even renter's insurance helps a little bit. And a lot of people don't realize that when they're around the coastal area, they don't really necessarily think that they might need wind damage, and they don't necessarily think they need flood insurance. And even people living in cities maybe 1,000 miles in from a coast may not think that they need it. But as long as we have these supercell storms coming and not really alleviating but getting worse over the years, the further inland you go, I'd say the safest place for you not to have flood insurance or wind damage, providing you're not on a lake, a river, or a stream, is 2,000 miles inland from any coastal area. As long as you're not on a lake, a river, or a stream. Anyone else should be covered, period. Bottom line. Okay? And I'm telling you that from personal experience. So get it if you don't have it. And do it before and if you don't have it, make sure you do get it before they claim state of emergency, because once that state of emergency comes in, usually you can't get it, and usually you can't get it at all, period. And now they're even restricting how many days before a storm. Like for example, if you guys don't already have flood and wind damage right now on your insurance policies, and you want to get it now for Irma, I don't believe you will be covered because it takes 30 days on many states. So be careful, check into it, call your insurance company, see what's going on with that, okay? Be safe. But also, too, we're going to go into more on, let's see, before a hurricane hits. A lot of people go through mental anguish because they've lost a lot of personal items, a lot of videos, a lot of pictures, personal momentums, etc., and so on. I tell everybody, and this is telling me on here too, keep anything that means your life to you, basically, like photos, okay? I'll say photos. And don't depend on the shit that's on any electronic device, because you're not going to get it later, probably, if it gets flooded or wet. But get printed photos on anything that you have, and take them out of their frames, along with any content of any kind of personal property, and go put it in a safety deposit box now before the storm hits. If you can find any bank, open up an account. I don't care. Even if you're not in that bank, open up an account just to get that safety box, and then pay the fee for that safety box right then and there. You're going to have to do 3 things at once. Go in a new bank, get a new account, open up a safety box, pay that fee, and put your personal effects in there. Because after a storm hits, with the winds and the flooding and the rain and everything that has happened, and Lord knows I know, because I went through it, and I can't emphasize this so much, but once they're gone, okay? And you can see from the past experience from Texas, with a lot of people being in the situations that they're in, that they didn't do that. So take your photos, even, and remember, these got to be small momentums, okay? If you're going to do anything small, you got to find out the size of the safety deposit box first, and then see what you can put in it, you know what I mean? But my number one thing would be like photos and videos. And if you have a cell phone that has videos on it, you may be able to do that too. You have to check with your bank or whoever you're doing your safety deposit box with, okay? But get that situated before the storm hits. That way, after the storm hits, usually what happens is they close up the vault and they're waterproof, okay? And then when you go back, you can get it out, and then you have something to go back to. You have those momentums, okay? Also, photocopy any personal IDs, credit cards, insurance policies, and other documents, and keep them in a watertight container, okay, for emergency supplies. I would go one step further and do all that and put that also in your safety deposit box, besides having watertight containers, okay? And you can use Ziplocs, maybe, or if you got plastic containers that 100% there's nothing going to happen to it, put it in that. But Ziplocs are my best friend, I'll tell you that, okay? So use them. Also, before the hurricane hits, make sure you got fuel, and service the family vehicles to make sure that everything's okay, and that they're in working order. In case of emergency, you may need to use them, okay? But make sure you're fully stocked and full fueled up, and that means supplies. And I've got to tell you something, after going through these 4 hurricanes, you got to remember, there's going to be a lot of debris in the road, and there's going to be a lot of nails and stuff, and you're going to run over it, and you're going to get flat tires. So my thing is, if you can buy at the auto place, get one of those nail plug kits, get a few of those, fix it flat, buy your oil, your radiator fluid, fuel filter, air filter, oil filter, maybe a couple extra tires, all that, because the higher the category of the storm, the longer the wait it is for any supplies that you're ever going to ever need for your vehicles, and you might need those vehicles to get you out of Dodge, okay? So stock your vehicle supplies as well as if it was a human being, okay? So that means fuel, oil, whatever, tires, fix-it flats, whatever, you know what I mean? Anything that you need to service that vehicle with of liquids, make sure you have, etc. and so on. And if you have to go anywhere, put it in a kit together. Find a plastic tote and put all that stuff in it, mark it for your car or truck. And when you go, it goes in the back end and you're secure then. And if you have a problem on the road, you're covered. And that includes your roadside emergency kit too. Put that in there as well. Okay? So yeah, make sure you're prepared on that. Cover all your windows and doors. Any lightweight objects in the yard, meaning garbage cans, tools, kids' toys, lawn furniture, little knickknacks that you decorate the garden or yard with. Pull them all in, get them out of there, because they're going to fly through your window if you don't. And if they fly through the window, they can fly through a wall, because those are like a bullet. Okay? Keep extra cash on hand, and so on. If you plan to leave immediately, like let's say you live along the coastline, you live in a mobile home, or you live in a high-rise building, okay? Hurricane winds are stronger in a high-rise building. I was on a second level. It was a top level at the time, and I got hit bad, real bad. It gutted me. I lost everything, okay? So if you have to leave early, those are the three kinds of people, what they look for, that will be immediately evacuated, probably mandatory evacuated over anybody else. So on the East Coast, anybody that's going to get hit, if you live in a mobile home, if you live anywhere near the coastline, or you live in any kind of high-rise living situation, anything from 2 stories or higher will be evacuated. Okay, so get out of there before they do it, because that's not a pretty picture either. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get out of my thing. No one came to my rescue. I was on my own by myself. I had no other family with me when my storm hit, and that's not something you want to deal with. Okay. Also, during the storm, people want to say, well, you know, what do you do during the storm? What's going to happen? Okay. Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you have all your emergency gear around you. Okay, I'll put it that way. Also, you want to make sure your radio's in working order, and you got plenty of batteries around you, so that if your radio goes down, you can redo it. And you have lanterns and flashlights around you through the storm. Those 3 things, lantern, flashlight, radio, all needs to be within your reach at all times. Also, you'll have to listen to, if they tell you to evacuate, where to evacuate to, then do it. Don't say, hey, I'm going to ride it out, I'm going to be okay. No. I'm going to tell you no. You're going to say, oh, you're foolish, you're stupid, I'm not losing my stuff, I don't want no one to rob me. Guess what? You stay, you die. Okay? Because what's going to happen is, either the storm is going to kill you, or the people that are going to come ravage your place is going to kill you. Okay? And I don't care how many officials they might have, or military, to protect you in that area. If you live in a city, okay, you've got electric things that can electrocute you and kill you. You have gas lines that can blow up and kill you. If you live on a second level or higher, it can collapse and kill you. If you're around areas that have a lot of windows, the window panes can actually come through and actually kill you. I actually missed a window pane and a wedge of a roof house that came in and almost cut my foot completely off as I was hiding out in my bathroom after I went through and the back end of the storm came by. Okay? So I can't emphasize that much to you, is get the hell out of there and get to a safe location. Because even though the winds might come, okay, and all this stuff happens, you can get killed by any debris flying. And it could be your own debris, let alone outside your house of somebody else's, okay? So that's a very, very important factor. Get out and get away from it before it happens. If you can't, then barricade yourself in a bathroom through the winds that are, okay, this is a very important note that I really need you guys to pay attention to. For me, at least in my example, from what I went through, is the hurricane winds that come in first is the winds that will be less aggressive and less damaging, I'll put it that way. So if you have a bathroom facing something that comes in to you first on the hurricane, go to that bathroom and hide out there. Okay? Unless you have a basement, go to the basement. But here's the problem with the basement. If it floods, you're dead. Okay? So, best bet is to go to a bathroom and hide out there if you cannot escape the situation. And barricade yourself with blankets, towels, and pillows for any flying debris that might happen. If you have plywood or piece of like corrugated metal, protect yourself with that, and then the blankets on top of your body. That will sustain you for any kind of damages, hopefully. But don't take my word on it. But best bet is just to get out and get to a shelter before it hits. And if you happen not to get out and you're doing it after the storm, then like I say, get out and get away from it. Don't stay in your house, kind of thing, because many after effects happen after a storm. You've got gas lines that can blow up your place. You have electrical and you can get electrocuted. You have floods from the water and rain, let alone surges if you're around coastline areas, and flooding from the storm that way. And there's many other factors that can kill you. Okay, many, many, many. So, and I don't want to go through them all. Okay, but I'm just letting you know. Also, too, if you've not been ordered to leave and you remain in your home, make sure to turn your refrigerator to the coldest setting and keep it closed. If you have a problem and it doesn't close right, use your duct tape to keep it closed. Turn off all your propane tanks and unplug any kind of small appliances. It does say here to fill your bathtub with the largest containers with water for sanitary purposes. Here is a thing on that. If you have two bathrooms that have two tubs, clean out your tub very well, even with bleach, and then fill that one tub with just water only. Your one tub may have enough water there for a family of 4 for maybe 5 days. It depends on, because you're going to have to salvage your water, okay, and only use it for cooking purposes and drinking, okay. Don't use it to bathe, okay. If you have to bathe, use one of the, I'll give you a portion of your water bottle that you buy at a convenience store is the only amount of water you should be using to take a sponge bath with if you are that bad and you stink that bad. Only unless you stink, don't do it, okay? Because trust me, water is your lifeline. It's like gold. Water and food is like gold. So, you're going to have to salvage that. If you don't have 2 tubs and 2 bathrooms, then yes, you're going to have to put some supplies in there, but then you're going to have to get like reuse your milk jugs and your gallon jugs of water and your gallon jugs of juice jugs and stuff like that. Clean them out very well. Put a little bit of bleach to sanitize it, and then rinse it out good before the storm. This is all before storm preparation. And then put your drinking water in it. And then go by the other list that I gave you on the previous video on how many gallons of water you might need, and stock as many of those as you can in the tub for now. Okay, and then stay in a small interior room or closet, ideally without windows. So any room, like I was in my bathroom because I knew it didn't have windows in there, or a closet that the doors won't open. You want to make sure that you're in an area that is secure if you can't leave your house when that happens. Okay, so my area was like the bathroom, and I secured that area. After a hurricane, what do you do? A lot of people say, oh no, all this is happening, and now what? Well, you still got to listen to that radio station for the weather, because here's the thing. Once the eye comes on land, you got the back end of it, and that back end is furious. It can develop not only water spouts, but tornadoes, whether you're around the coast or inland for tornadoes. Also, updates and instructions of any kind of emergency management situation that may be needed, and shelters that will be opening, as well as any other emergency needs that are out there that is given. It says, do not attempt to drive through anything of any flowing water, or cross any streets that have flowing water of anything more than 6 inches deep. And here's the reason why. I'm going to use New York City. New York City is an old city. All their plumbing and electrical is older, along with their water system there, drainage wise, is older. And what happens in a storm when you get mass flow of water, whether it's 6 inches, 6 inches is enough to eat away at the soil or older streets to develop into like sinkholes. 6 inches, and with debris going of any sort, you may not see the bottom, or that piece of cement, like if you're on a road, like in New York City on the road, can be very weak, and you can drop through it like a sinkhole, like a car going through a sinkhole. So if you see anything that's 6 inches deep or deeper, stay away from it. Don't go in it. Don't go around it. You know what I mean? Just stay away from it completely, because at any point in time it can develop into a sinkhole. It also means that there's more water coming. You could actually have a flash flood and not know it, and you could be swept away. Also, stay away from any kind of electric or any standing water. I had a problem here on the street, even with a minor storm here, with kids going up and down the street, and they're playing in it, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing that for? And the parents weren't even watching them. And I'm going to emphasize something. Number one on your list, if you are a parent and you have a family with kids, and I don't care what their age is, I don't care if they're, infants on up to college kids, do not let them play, stand, walk, or run in any kind of standing water. The reason is that they may have bacterial, algae-eating, skin-eating organisms in them, okay, that can eat away at your kid's skin and body, for one. Number two, there also may be electrical charged down wire from a power line in it, and they can be electrocuted. So watch your kids. Do not let them play outside. Okay? Do not let them near any kind of standing water. Don't let them touch it. Okay? Another thing is, take pictures of all your damage to your property and notify your insurance company. Even if you don't have insurance, just to make you feel better, take pictures of it and try to go to FEMA and get some money, but I can tell you this, you won't. You won't get any money from them. The government will not help you unless you have insurance. I'll put it that way. They never helped me, and they won't help you. So be prepared. Take your pictures, even whether you have insurance or not. That way, if you do decide to salvage anything that might be salvageable from your stuff, you can, maybe find it, because if you didn't have insurance, you're taking pictures, at least you might know the location where it might be. You know what I mean? Also, if you have utilities like gas, water, electric, make sure it's inspected by professionals before it's turned on. This is a massive concern. You can see the examples in Texas, but many of the houses have been blown up by gas lines or been on fire by electrical because the people turned it on and it wasn't inspected before they did so, and then their house either burned down or blew up because of it. You gotta understand, the storm dislodges everything. Plumbing, electrical, gas, water, you name it. So put that on your priority list, what you do after a hurricane. Don't turn nothing on until it's inspected. Also use tap water for your drinking and cooking. And only use your local water when officials say it's safe to do so. Do not use it for bathing or anything else until they say it's safe to use. Otherwise, rely on your bottled water. Okay. Also, you can use battery-powered spotlights and flashlights and emergency lighting. Never use candles or open flames indoors. And the reason for that is because your candles and your open flames is like having a barbecue pit or a fire pit in the middle of your house. If you have gas lines and they go in your house or they're outside your house, the fumes even on the outside, let's say you have pipes that go down the street but you don't have gas but you got pipes down there, at any point in time through a hurricane, any of those could break. They could let out vapors. The vapors can go in your house, and if you had any candles or open flames indoors, even like if you're lighting a cigarette, let's say you're lighting a lighter for a cigarette, okay, that can trigger a mass explosion in your house. So I hate to tell it, but I know there's a lot of New Yorkers out there that do smoke. Guess what? You're out of luck, because if you light that cigarette, it could be your last one. It will blow you up and your neighbors up at the same time. Keep your spirits up as best you can. You got to remember, you're going to go through the worst of things, and only things will get better after this. I've had people where if they had cell phones, eventually their internet came on and they would watch a lot of comedy shows or movies and stuff like that. That helps improve your spirit. Sometimes people write a journal on their experience and then they reflect on it like years later. That improves their spirit. For kids, comic strips and comic books and stuff like that might help them. Or, games for the kids, electric games, or even board games. Board games are very important, especially if you don't have electric, okay? So, get some games for the kids too. Put that in your kit, because cards, dominoes, any board games, they'll probably say, well, what's a board game? I don't know what that is. I don't know how to play board games. I only know how to do my electric game here on my phone or on my pad. Well, there you go. Give them something to do, Board games. Teach them all about it. Alright. And then home emergency preparedness stuff is the same thing that we went through on the previous videos. So you guys got a pretty much hand on what you do during a storm. Things to look for, the tips of everything. And what you do basically after a storm. I can tell you this from past experience. The more or the higher the category of a storm is, the longer the recovery period will be. Now, not saying only from my experience, but you could see from even the Texas experience, you're looking at years. And I know just from Hurricane Charlie, from what I went through on the eye on that alone, and I'm not talking about the other three yet, but I'm always using that as my primer on my storms, because that's the only one I did go through the eye on. Your recovery time, you better plan on being unemployed for a minimum of a year. Okay? Unless you can hook up and you have the skills for any of the companies that rebuild homes, and I mean electrical, plumbing, roofing, construction, you're basically without a job. If you're bored, you might be able to get unemployment for a while. You might be able to volunteer your time, not only to your family, but maybe to Red Cross and feed some people, stuff like that, or charity places might need help, to volunteer with. Help each other, help each other to pass the time by while you're on the unemployment. Usually if you help each other and help charities and time goes by even though you're on an unemployment, it makes you a better and stronger person. I don't care who you are, what color you are, what race you are, what your belief system is. That's all in general, whole in general. I've gone through my experience and done that. At the same time, I can't emphasize the higher the category, the longer the recovery time. I was involved, I think it was a 4 or 5, I don't remember on Charlie what it was. But, like I say, your unemployment is a minimum of a year. Your town recovery, I know from my experience from Charlie alone, it took 10 years and we're not fully, at that time, at 10-year mark, we weren't fully recovered. I can tell you from just seeing the pictures of what I saw from Harvey, you're looking probably a 20 to 30 year recovery time for all those cities and towns completely. I don't care where they're getting their money from, how much their money is, how many people they have working on any level, including military. But I can tell you this, for the whole town in general, and towns joining, where the worst is the longest time. And where the longest time is I'm saying from what I saw from Texas there, is probably around 20 to 30 years where they fully are going to be fully recovered. As for unemployment, unless you have the skills for any of those offsets that I said, or you're in the military, you better plan on being not employed, basically, for the minimum of 1 year. And it could be up to 3 to 5 years, really, from what I saw in their pictures. Unless you move out of that town completely and like go into the central part of the United States, and you can find jobs maybe, But if I was any of them out there in Harvey, I'd evacuate, because it's going to take them a long time to recover, like I told you earlier how much, and I'd get out of there and get into the central part of the United States and reestablish myself. So, that gives you a heads up. And also through all this, if you're not able to work, make sure that you are hitting all the food pantries beyond what the relief efforts are doing. Apply for your food stamps, and also apply for your unemployment and any other government benefits that you think you can get a hold of. So, and then tap out your charities on top of that. So, good luck, guys. this will be, I think, it on the series, unless I can think of something else on the hurricane issue that I haven't covered. I will keep track of Irma and give you another update here on 9/3, September 3rd, and we'll take it from there. So be safe. If you like any of my videos in my series, or any videos at all, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Tell your friends. And thanks for tuning into my channel. Have a great day. Only things can get better.